In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can wind a center pull ball of yarn or yarn cake without any special tools. Using just your hands, we will wind up the balls of yarns that look similar to these. They stack nicely on a shelf, whether you stack them this way or if you want to lay them on their side and stack them up that way. The only thing I suggest that you do use for this is a hair snappy clip, and I use it to help make sure that the tail end that I want to stay in the center while I'm winding, it makes it more noticeable if it gets caught up while you're winding, so that's why I do that. And then when we're done, we're just going to use it to clip the outside tail end, which I've done here, to the outside of your little cake of yarn. So to begin, we're going to just attach this clip to the end. I like to wrap it around the bottom part of the clip a couple times just to keep it secure. And then you're just going to start wrapping around your thumb horizontally this way. And you want to be sure that you're not wrapping it too tight or too loose. And that'll make a little bit more sense in a little bit, but for now, just go with it. You're going to want to wrap about 10 or 15 times around, and you want to keep it as straight across your thumb as possible. And again, don't do it too tight. So you should still be able to grab the yarn like so, and you should be able to move it around your thumb comfortably without struggling. So now what you're going to do, before we do that, if you start winding clockwise, you want to maintain going clockwise. If it's just going to make a big mess if you don't. So if you want to do counterclockwise, you can do that as well. Just make sure that you stay consistent. So if you start clockwise, continue clockwise, or if you start counterclockwise, make sure you continue counterclockwise. So once you've wrapped the yarn around your thumb about 10 or 15 times, you're going to go from the top at the back, bring the yarn down and start going up at a 45-degree angle. Oops. And you might have to hold it until you get a couple rounds around your thumb. And again, take your time. It's probably not going to be perfect the first time you do it, but you're going to wrap it about 10 times, maybe 15 depending on what kind of yarn you're using. I'm using Red Heart Comfort, which is a medium weight, and so I can only get about 10 rounds for each section, if that's what we're going to call it. So once we have our rounds done, you want to hold the yarn at the top, so just hold it, and then you're going to gently turn about a third of the way around your thumb. And again, we're just going to fix this a little bit. So then you're going to come back around the bottom and start going up at a 45-degree angle again. And keep wrapping until you have it wrapped about 10 or 15 times. Just gonna pull some more yarn out here. Okay, and then you're gonna hold the yarn at the top again, and you're gonna turn about a third of the way around again. And so now you had the yarn going up at this 45-degree angle, and then the yarn going up at this 45-degree angle over here. And so now you're gonna wanna wrap in between those angles. I hope you can see what I'm doing on the camera. And again, just wrap it about 10 or 15 times. And so here's where this clip comes in handy. So as you're turning your little cake that's around your thumb, this is going to turn with it, and if it ends up getting caught up in it, you'll notice. It's very noticeable if this gets caught up in what you're winding. So this helps just to keep your tail end kind of out of the way, and it makes you aware of it. So again, we're going to turn, and we're going to go up at a 45-degree angle again. And so as you're winding, you will always go up at a 45-degree angle from, I guess if this was an axis, this would be your x-axis. And it's always 45 degrees up from there. And again, we'll turn our little cake. And just keep winding and keep turning. And you will start to see somewhat of a pattern forming. Turn again. And turn again. And so this clip is kind of up in the way a little bit, so I'm just gonna drop it back down here. So this is a really good mindless project to do while you're watching a TV show, or listening to a podcast or an Audible book or anything like that. It's also a really good thing to do to keep your yarn organized if it's not in a cake formation. I prefer the cake formation to just the long skeins. That most of the yarn, I usually buy Red Heart. That's kind of my go-to yarn, or else Loops and Threads Impeccable yarn. And I just prefer to cake it. It makes it easier to work with. Not to mention, it looks nicer on a shelf. And then you can see your inventory a lot easier as well. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video, and I encourage you to keep working. And I will meet you back here when the yarn cake is a little bit bigger and ready to come off my thumb. So this is about the size of cake that I want. Yours may be bigger or yours may be smaller. So what I like to do is just cut the tail end there. Remove the hair clip, and then just clip the other tail end on there. And then, so you just want to be careful when you're pulling it off to not pull out the center. As you're winding, it may become a little bit tight around your thumb, so you just want to be careful when you're twisting it off that you don't pull the whole center out with it. This ball winding technique may take a few tries to master, but once you get the hang of it, it's quite easy. And it's really great for organizing those half-used skeins laying around from previous projects, or if your yarn comes in big skeins like this Red Heart Comfort. It's easier when you can break it down into smaller cakes or smaller balls. It just makes it a little bit more manageable. If this video helped you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tutorials. You can also follow us on Instagram at Hooks2Hooks and TikTok at Hooks2Hooks, and join our Hooks2Hooks crochet group on Facebook.